Hello, hi, hola, good morning everyone. Nice to be here today. A word of warning, let's see if my voice will hold for this next 20 minutes. And let's hopefully also be in a situation I will not bore you at all. All right, my name is Petri, as stated, and it's really nice to meet you all this morning. And please do the LinkedIn thing if you want. I work in Siili Advisory. We are like this end-to-end AI transformation partner. We do everything from thinking to building, and I would like to sort of frame it in 3 M's. We think about money, how the business models, existing ones or the new ones, in the coming AI age will look like. Then the machine, how companies will operate internally when they become AI-powered or AI-native. And lastly, the meaning. What happens between humans and AI, both in the commercial context I'm going to talk about today, and also how it sort of will affect our lives in work context and perhaps even on the private context. I've been waiting for this my whole career, basically. As you see from the color of my beard, I've been working in emerging technology and customer phenomena for 700 years or something. And I think, this is the first time I can actually say this honestly, that a new paradigm has entered the chat. Sorry.
It's touching your beard, so it goes.
I will not shave for this meeting. All right, so basically, this is a dramatic statement. We see that digitalization era interfaces are being devalued in lots of ways. How many of you in the audience have talked to ChatGPT or some other AI and thought about your life? What should I be like? What should I do? These kind of things. I'm going to go in deeper into the evidence in a second. We feel that, in a way, look at, for instance, this stuff. ChatGPT launched this browser called Atlas, and this will mean that people are going to be in one window, one browser, and never going to probably visit your website, e-com site, mobile application anymore. That's the strategy of most of these companies like ChatGPT or OpenAI. When Google will integrate Gemini into Chrome, Chrome has 70+% penetration on browsers in the world globally. When Google will integrate Gemini, their AI model, into their browser, it means that people will do dreaming, thinking, purchasing with these new sort of I suppose channels, if you want to call them that. And I think the coolest thing, and probably the most threatening thing to the digital economy at the moment, is that it's not just about asking things. What TV should I buy? What sort of clothes should I get? What sort of, I suppose, health regimen I should go so I will look good on the summer holiday. The point is not the sales intervals. It is that these new companions will own the dreaming phase. And this is also probably the biggest disruption when it comes to brand building we have ever seen. You think about what you should be, and then the products sort of come intermediated into that stuff, rather than companies telling people what you should be like. And this might sound abstract, but it's a huge change. And I think, all companies who work in digital economy should be prepared for that. We have already seen also that sort of these AI companies are trying to conquer these verticals like travel, health, finance even, and these kind of things. So they will create these micro companions or contextual companions, which are then sort of catering to a specific need. Well, that's kind of interesting. As Siili, we work with travel actors, for instance, right now, and think about, okay, if, let's say, a plane ticket becomes just a price tag in one of these companions, then what does it actually mean, right? It's people don't once again visit your companion or own presence anymore. Trivago is in Claude as well. We call these vertical companions. So lots of this stuff is happening already. And then lastly, I think the vertical capture is super interesting. I'm going to go into the evidence in a second, but already we can see that people keep really sensitive information to these companions. People are talking about their health issues. People are talking about their, I suppose, counseling when it comes to relationships and stuff like that. And this is what has happened. Recently, this first. So this is the threat basically, and I think this is the message that I think, at Siili we are trying to tell everyone that we are living in a world now when relationship ownership becomes revenue ownership. If the stickiness lives in these companions or these companion-like services and these kind of things that companies, not just AI companies, are going to be doing in the future, then it means that, the revenue, the relationship is actually the same. We should start and be hyper-focused on building the emotional connection with the customer in this new kind of way. And previously, as I said, here's the customer and here's the company, and now there's going to be this intermediary in between, which is the AI service. It doesn't need to be a language model. It can be something else as well. Okay. Apparently, I'm screwing this whole thing up. Sorry about that. So these are the three basic tenets. Products become presences. A product in itself will be important, and the values and the features of the product will be super important. But actually what the product does, what does it feel like, what sort of stake does it have in customers' life becomes even more important. The second thing, we were talking about data on the previous talk, but right now we are moving into the world where people tell us what they want. We don't need to measure them in retrospect anymore. If I'm having a conversation, let's say, for instance, with a telco or a bank about my financial future, for instance, then we can actually go there and use the dialogue, use the conversation, and these kind of things as building blocks of building perhaps customized products or servicing or something else. And then lastly, loyalty becomes intimacy. We were having a meeting today with a medical actor about not just giving people bonuses of buying. What if we create a service that actually becomes the loyalty factor in itself? Once again, a facsimile of a relationship, a facsimile of a connection, and that then becomes basically the new sales channel and the loyalty channel. So to summarize, and I think this is quite powerful, is that previously we have mastered digitalization. Everyone in here is super well versed in creating funnels and all these kind of things and stuff like that. But this is the quick question for the next couple of years. It's more powerful if you ask your customer, what could we dream real today? And this is probably the best distillation of what's happening. And we feel that, most companies and most actors in the field should think about what's happening on the right side, on my right side of the slide right now. There was a study in September last year that studied 700 million interactions on ChatGPT. And a couple of things. People are not using it as Google anymore. They're using it with asking, which means that they're reflecting, planning their life and stuff like that. So in a way, what I'm just been sermoning here is not speculative anymore. It has already happened. And there's this economical term called perceived customer life value, which means that these people were asked, if you wouldn't have ChatGPT anymore, what would you be willing to pay for it? And they said it's almost $100 a month, more than Spotify, Netflix, and Facebook combined. So in a few years, ChatGPT has become the second most valuable digital product after Google search globally to people. So once again, we have the numbers already, back it up. So if you would have a companion, what it would be worth? One of the things we talk about at work a lot also is that this is, probably not an added value service. You could even monetize these things in a new way. Let's say you would have once again a bank. You would create like this prosperity companion that helps people gain wealth, right? What would that be worth to people? We did a study in Finland, which means that 56% of Finnish people trust AI in product and service recommendations already. We did this January. More than half of Finnish people think and dream and reflect what they should buy via these AI companions like ChatGPT. So this is also an evidence that the customer traction and the customer stickiness has gone, it's not going, it already has gone to these companions. So in a way, what has happened is that people trust the agent, not the merchant. And this is pretty serious stuff. In a way, it's once again, both an opportunity and a threat. And we feel that this is a conversation that everyone should be having right now. There's also a couple of things in here. Finnish e-commerce is about, I suppose, 17 billion a year, in volume. Imagine if we would have a 15% uplift on that, if we would create like this companion cutter services and stuff like that. We're talking about hundreds of millions in added revenue. If it would be 30%, it would be something like this. So once again, look at this world and this domain like an aggressive growth, domain, not just react to it, because something will happen. So the numbers can be pretty big. We're talking to a client right now. We had an ask, can you calculate the running costs of this companion cutter service with 2 to 4 million users? And we calculated that 0.5% of uplift in their digital sales would be 70 million a year. A percent, you can do the math, would be 140 million. So in a way, it's like, even if you have lots of scale, lots of, I suppose, users, accounts, customers, you could do some pretty amazing stuff based on that. But then we come to the threat. The Shopify integration was already mentioned in the previous speak. Shopify and OpenAI collaboration will take a 4% cut of every sale that happens on the ChatGPT channel. So this is, I suppose, can be a lot, can be a little. The Shopify stuff is mostly to the SME sector. And I suppose when you look at the margins of the SME sector, this might be a big thing. Amazon takes from 8 to 16%, and App Store takes a 30% cut. So in a way, so that the monetization or the commission model of these new channels has not been set yet. And they are hyper-focused on scaling this stuff, obviously. But in the future, we will also probably pay for real estate. If you would be a micro companion in this super companion like ChatGPT or Gemini, you need to pay for real estate and probably some custom card railing, right? So, economically, the margins are going to be a challenge in lots of ways. But now we come to the interesting part. As I said before, we have been focused on the product, the seamless commerce, the optimized funnels. But what if, and that's the first reason, but what if the second reason, some sort of added value thing we can create in this companion model would be the first reason to get the customer and foremost, create the loyal customers. And what this looks like, let's say, from different industries. For energy, imagine if you would, let's say, have an energy company that has 10 million electrical contracts with people. Why don't you start selling the things that run on electricity via this companion? It's not really rocket science. If it would be a bank, you could be a prosperity companion. We have a lot of conversations on this topic ongoing at the moment, and on and on and on and on. There's one person in the audience right now from a telco. We've been talking about this stuff for actually 2 years ago already, so it's kind of funny. I'll give you a concrete example. A travel company, they have been thinking about the whole customer journey, from dreaming, where should I go, then from selecting what travel agent or airline I should choose, then buying the ticket, then what happens in the location, and then what happens afterwards. We are now creating a hypothesis on the whole chain on this companion, from dreaming, insurance, all this kind of stuff. Could we perhaps create something actually quite end-to-end, an aggressive value capture? These are the main roles we see currently that any company or every company will probably need to choose, and these are not so like, binary. But anyways, so there's companies that have a large amount of customers, and the customers probably have not been, I suppose, the customer spread has not been mined for value yet so much, so they could probably even create their own companions. Then there's so like, these different things that you will come and be integrated in these existing companions, like ChatGPT, Atlas, Claude, and these kind of things. And then there's this narrow AI stuff that you create like these specific servicing models for a different specific use case. And this is a conversation, once again, that every company should be having right now. This is all kind of like not related to channel strategy, but it's also quite existential in a way, we feel. And these are the sort of like, the companion economy, I suppose, baseline things. So from channels to companions, you don't need to create your own AI, but you need to sort of like, envision what your position and place in this new landscape will look like. Then there's from funnels to continuous dialogue. Once again, how do we serve these people who have this continuous sort of like, dialogue with us, and how do we understand them better? We're talking a lot about like this concept called a target group of one, which means that if people open up and tell us about their dreams, hopes, fears, how do we do this responsibly, but how do we actually understand them better and then can service them in a way that we haven't done before? Then, once again, the products, the presence is alluded to intimacy. So these are the, I suppose, cornerstones. But there's also one interesting thing is that if you would have 1 million customers and provide them with one servicing model, could that be, once again, a channel for this partner economy? Could you replicate what ChatGPT and Gemini are doing at the moment and bring in third parties, collaborations, and charge them a commission from that? And this is probably one of the interesting hypotheses that we have, that, this could be something that drives and grows, once again, the digital economy in lots of ways. A really easy example already is like, could an airline sell insurance? Could an energy company sell microwaves? Could a health provider sell wellness products? You know what I mean? So the story goes on and on and on. If you have the customer footprint, you can probably monetize it in a new way as well. So the ecosystem thing is important here. Siili is also kind of like, really deep into the sovereign AI thing that we work with Verda, for instance. We can run these things locally and safely with regulation in mind. But I think also it would be a bit of a shame that the global actors would come because they understand what's happening probably faster than we do, and sort of like, capture and create this market. So there's also sort of like this urgency to go and do something in this domain before sort of like, the domain is established in a way. So this is the math. If 30% of people don't visit your e-com anymore, what does it cost you? Google has done this thing already that you can buy things from search results. And once again, there's lots of stuff happening and coming already that will have a deep impact on the sales, and especially on the margins. But if you would have like this more, I suppose, aggressive strategy, what would it look like if you would have a serious uplift on your sales, if you would utilize the companion mechanics and perhaps even the partner economy stuff, right? And then lastly, what would the experience look like in this new world? I had a talk in the same stage before Christmas on this banking seminar. I had a better voice then, so apologies once again. There was this person from Visa. She was running the payments in Europe, a really, really smart person. And so we had like this kind of like, comedy duo thing going on. And I asked her this: if there's a bank right here whose, I suppose, motivations are certain, and in here there's the customer, And in between, there would be this companion that actually makes sure that the customer prospers, gains wealth, makes good decisions and stuff like that. When it comes to financial health, would the AI be in the side of the consumer or the bank? And in a way, this is kind of like, once again, if it's on the side of the consumer and creates continuous value, even on really like, basic life level, then you will probably create a loyalty thing that is the stickiest that's ever been created. So, interesting. Once again, we're talking about the commission model with an airline, with a bank, and these kind of things in a retail company. We feel that this would be a good conversation starter also to sort of like, have this joint dialogue on what it would look like. What would the common interest be like? Because, predatory models are probably not sticky, once again, because there's the unfortunate customer in the loop, right? So we invite everyone to actually have this common conversation on the topic as well. So the last thought. In the next couple of years, will you be the one that we will be talking to, having a relationship with when it comes to life, planning, dreaming, fulfilling your potential perhaps, and these kind of things. So welcome to the companion economy. Thank you, and hopefully by voice.
Much, Petri. This was really thought-provoking, and I'm deeply sorry for the inconvenience with the technology. And really good questions that they have been asking. I'll rephrase those. If users are not going to websites anymore, what will be source of truth for my brand and product stories?
Well, the source of truth, this will not be so dramatic, but the source of truth will be defined with the channel you interact with. There's really good quality, sort of like, AIs like ChatGPT and Gemini that have quite good actually, sort of like, guardrails and principles on how they actually build this relationship with the customer and stuff like that. But the thing is that, every AI model out there is built for one thing and one thing only. It's about engagement. These companies live and die if they can hold and keep traction with the customer on the channel, like keep the conversation going on and stuff like that. When it comes to AI search optimization and how you're going to be visible in these things, I showed you in the model, like, for instance, Trivago and these kind of things have like these micro applications within these super companions like ChatGPT and Gemini. So in a way, that's one way to actually have a placement there as well. But the AI will not be, the ChatGPT model or the Gemini model will not be making decisions based on your desires. It will be based on the conversation that the customer has had with the AI and these kind of things. You can probably buy some sort of visibility at some point. For instance, OpenAI is thinking about this advertising model, but the conversation will be the dictating factor on the decision. So once again, it's going to be a black box you cannot really have a big impact on, unfortunately, which is why you should think about how to react to this in your own channels.
And the next question goes, risk of AI hallucination avoided by proper prompting in all cases? Is it like that?
Okay, what is hallucination? What is real, right? Once again, it's really a good question. But if the thing is that, I go and talk to ChatGPT about, okay, I take pictures of, let's say, how I dress, and then I think about this kind of stuff and blah, 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 have this conversation of my taste universe and stuff like that. Is there a hallucination if that has an impact on my purchase choices? If I have a conversation with ChatGPT on my media consumption, like let's say what sort of movies I like or music I listen to and these kind of things, does that, it will have an impact on my choices, but is that a hallucination? I think the hallucination problem is real, but I think we should go away from thinking about, once again, AI is not a search engine that gives me an answer. The way that people are using AI right now are these continuous dialogues of asking, dreaming, reflecting. So which means that, it's not an answer, it's a trigger to the next conversation. So in a way, I would even say the hallucination part is trivial because the relationship, the simulation of the relationship is the thing, right?
And then the question goes, what is the early sign that a company is already losing connection to its customers and doesn't even realize that?
Well, there's this number, for instance, in Financial Times, we all know the media. Since Google started to do this, AI summaries on a piece of news, I think there's something like 70% of traffic to the Financial Times website was dropped off. 70%. This is existential to lots of companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the last one goes, how do you draw a customer journey from scratch, taking into account modern AI opportunities?
Well, let's have a conversation about that then. But that's one thing. Once again, one sort of thing that I think we should keep in mind in this new world. Do not think about the customer journey as it is right now. Think about the customer journey from dreaming to thinking, to selecting, to purchasing, to renewal. Think about it in this new way, lots of ways. So one thing I think is kind of interesting we have discovered is that the traditional sales intervals, like buying, purchasing, making it seamless, are still valid and applicable. But the real actually happens in between the sales intervals, right? What sort of value can we provide people in between the sales or purchase decisions is actually something that we should all explore at the moment.
Petri, Lattu from Siili Solutions. This was really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Good. Have a nice day,
you.
everyone.